Hello there, Flip here, and today, instead of talking about Furina's place in the meta, which I'll still mostly be addressing as it does tie into her kit, and if you don't know what her kit does, go back and watch my previous videos on Furina, as I cover her kit and also her buffs and nerfs. We are now going to be doing a VARs and talking about on a fundamental level if Furina is a well-designed character, or interesting enough to separate her from the rest of the cast and Archons, as well as giving some things I'd personally change about her kit to tune her into the game more. But before we do that, hello Genshin players, it's almost time for the big red man to come around, and for that I'd like to proudly announce the sponsor of today's video, Genshin Star. Genshin Star is a fan-made merchandise store that is actually officially licensed by Genshin Impact themselves, meaning you are guaranteed to get the highest quality Genshin merch available. And speaking of that, with the merry season around the corner, the Genshin Star's Christmas advent calendar is a wonderful choice to buy to get in the festive mood, as well as the fact that it's on sale currently and also running out, so you don't want to miss it. The advent calendars have 24 doors to open from the beginning of December up until Christmas. So what is in these doors? Thank you Curious Viewer for asking. The advent calendars contain lots of Genshin goodies like keychains, minifigures, plushies, and stickers, and much more. That's not all Genshin Star has to offer though, as they also have other items like these very nice mouse pads I'm just here to show you and nothing else, as well as these colourful light boxes to decorate your room with, some clean hoodies, these nice phone cases, and just check out Genshin Star for yourself and make sure to use my code FLIP at checkout and my referral link below for 10% off your order. Thank you again Genshin Star for sponsoring the video, now back to it. Starting off with her normal attacks, there's nothing too relevant about them besides the fact that you apply Numar or Uja depending on your arc alignment, and then the stance change from her charge attack. Normal attacks make applying Numar or Uja very convenient with her, and it's every 6 seconds, no real complaints there honestly. But with her switching forms through a charge attack, it does look pretty inconvenient. Because it's a charged attack, you kind of just lose stamina for performing it, and then you have to pose like Michael Jackson for a second or two, which in combat can result in you getting hit while changing stances depending on how quickly you can cancel out of it. Hell, you might have even had the stamina to cancel out of it and then poof, you switch stances and it's gone. In Hoyo's defense, considering how many buttons you use in Genshin, I don't know if there was a way to better implement this, though since it doesn't do that much damage in the first place, tweaking the stamina consumption and making it fully cancelable like Hu Tao's charge attack doesn't seem like a bad idea. Onto her skill, she has 2 alignments, so I'll have to talk about them separately. Her Uja alignment summons the little guys that attack for you. These cutie patooties have a lot of depth to them, so I'm going to have to address a lot of Furina's themes as a whole when talking about them. I do think giving them all different intervals of attacks is a very good idea, instead of essentially just repeating Jingqiu and Yelan, who all fire in unison. And it ties into her Hydra application, which despite the complaints I think is a good thing. If you look at the entire Fontaine lineup, Linny, Nouvelette, I am never going to pronounce. The common thing is that they're all carries that focus on raw damage. Wolfboy can of course use melt teams, but it's not like he's specialized in that role. It's the same principle behind Melt Ayaka to where it's whoever the fuck melts. Same case with Nouvelette. His raw damage is so high that as long as you have a team that lets him consistently get off his charge attacks, it really doesn't matter what Hydra team archetype you put him into. And with Focalors, her Hydra application is good enough to be sufficient on all teams, except for solo Dendro teams and some solo Vape teams. And I think it's intentional that she doesn't really have that great of a synergy with Dendro except Quick Bloom teams, which guess what, focus primarily on raw damage. Sumeru was all about reactions, Fontaine is about going in raw, which probably also explains why the characters are so hot. So with that theme in mind, I think they did a good job. The next thing to talk about is the HP drain, which is also a mechanic tied in with Fontaine. Considering she is the Archon, Furina essentially just has an enhanced version of all the other Fontaine characters' HP drain. Cool, I guess, nothing much to talk about. Oh yeah, before I forget, it's also really cool that each one of her little guys have an attack that does a different effect. One has a big AoE and attacks slow, the other a single target and attacks fast, and the last one is a mix of the two. Really engaging. Great, we now arrive at my biggest complaint, her healing mode, or Numa aligned state. It may as well just not exist as it really does nothing. It gives you a single target healing tick that is just an okay amount of healing, and it ticks for every 2 seconds. Even if you were to just split the healing by 4 and allow it to heal your entire party, it would be a lot better than it currently is. There is really no point to using it over just having a healer in your Furina team in the first place. Focalors is designed around having another healer on the team to increase her and the entire team's damage. Giving her a healing mode that is only a single target heal and doesn't apply Hydro just doesn't seem worth it to me. It can't even be affected by her passive, as her passive needs another healer to be able to distribute all the healing. And it can't be Furina herself. So why would you ever use this? Speaking of her passives actually, her first Ascension one makes overflow healing useful, so for single target healers like Kuki or Kokomi when off field, essentially converts their healing to now be a party-wide heal, which I think is an interesting way to allow your entire team to heal consistently, even if you don't have a team-wide healer, as this would be a problem without it. The passive isn't all that powerful in isolation, but just makes Furina's kit more applicable to more characters than just team-wide healers, and is a pretty smart workaround without also having to overtune future healers. When you have someone like Diona on the team, what ends up happening is that you'll have your on-fielder at full HP, and then everyone else is crippled, especially with Kuki, who actually just kills herself to heal, making it frustrating to switch into her. And this passive alleviates that. Her second passive is just, wow, more damage and slightly reduced healing interval for a form you are never going to use anyways. It's just not that interesting. Closing off with the last and most important part of her kit, her burst. I've seen a lot of people say her burst is boring, but I really don't see it. Essentially, when you heal or lose health while Furina's burst is active, you convert the amount of heal or health you lost into fanfare points. That gives you a ramping damage bonus that goes up to 99% and is given to all your teammates at the same time. The best thing about this burst is that it isn't just another fucking zone, as it can suck in actual gameplay. Second, there are actual conditions for getting the damage bonus, and the trade-off is one of, if not the strongest and longest lasting buff in the game. The conditions make it so it isn't applicable everywhere, so it isn't extremely overpowered without her C1, and the only place where this buff isn't applicable at all is to transformative reactions, which don't have that many ways to get buffs in the first place. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's like a plane. Oh, it's gone now. And the last reason as to why I think this burst is well designed and a lot more than just a big damage buff is that it makes healers better. For a long time, any character that was a healer and was balanced around healing a lot would tend to fall off in the later stages of the game, because someone like Bennett could heal a pretty good amount while also giving you a massive attack boost. So Genshin has been trying to find a way to make healers stronger, while also not nerfing or touching Bennett's place in the meta at the same time. The first way was to make the clam set that converted healing into a damage instance, but this just isn't that good, on top of having to take an entire artifact set, limiting other characters' options. The second way was to make characters HP scaling entirely like Heal-On, which with the double Hydro Core made it hard to slot in Bennett sometimes, so sure. And the third way was to just make characters more reaction oriented, and when you apply too much pyro like Bennett does with his skill, you get burning, which is a horrible reaction no one wants to trigger. But that didn't solve the root cause of healers just not being that relevant, as Bennett almost always monopolized one side of the abyss. But now you have Furina, which makes you want to heal and keep on healing, as that now boosts your damage. So effectively all healers in the game are now going to be balanced around Furina, evidenced by Charlotte being ran with Furina. And even if you heal a ridiculous amount and offer nothing else, Jean, you now become a lot more viable. Hoyoverse has been trying to reduce the versatility of the OG 4 stars, Bennett, Jingcho, Fischl, Sucrose, Zhangling, and it's been working okay while also not making them irrelevant. Zhangling is in a pretty balanced state as there are a lot of other damage dealers, and Zhangling also wasn't heavily affected by Dendro. Sucrose peaked towards the beginning of Dendro with more EM scalers, and more focus on reactions. But now grouping is starting to matter a lot more, and with Fontaine, everyone so far has been a raw damage dealer that doesn't benefit that greatly from wanting a Sucrose. Not much has really changed for Jingcho off the top of my head. He's great with a lot of the Sumeru characters. I guess in Fontaine they are making characters just not normal attack, so we'll see how that pans out. Bennett has been challenged a lot, gaining almost nothing from Sumeru characters, but now being really good for Wolfboy and Linny, but having no real synergy with Focalors, as he's a single target healer that won't be able to activate her passive. And Fischl, I am very scared, but as of now she hasn't really been challenged, and just got buffed. So we'll see if the challenges arrive later with Chlorind or Natalin. Okay, yeah, that was a massive tangent. TLDR, Furina's burst mechanics is a good way of challenging characters like Jingcho and Bennett, while also not making them less useful, which I think makes her burst quite well designed. All in all, besides some minor things like her healing mode and stance change, I think Furina is a well-designed character in all aspects, and I like the theme of her kit and the way Hoyoverse is going with future characters. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to pick up a few things from Genshin Star, our lovely sponsor, as well as dropping a like and commenting your thoughts on Furina, as I respond to almost every single comment. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Peace.